Welcome, Wargamers, to the ultimate tale of bad blood within the mortal realms, because today we are talking about the Hag Queen Teirathi and her tale from the Daughters of Khaine battle tome, Blood Feud, which I will read for you now. The High Oracle commands Hag Queen Teirathi of the Craith to retrieve the Crimson Singular, an accursed dagger said to have been tempered in the blood of Khaine himself. Teirathi travels to the caverns of Aok deep within Indivia, where the powerful relic can be found, only to come across an exalted Deathbringer Ogtai of the Eight-Bloodied and his warband, who also seek this powerful prize. The sweltering jungle caverns echo to the clash of axes and bone-chilling cries of Sisters of Slaughter. Many of Teirathi's witch elves are hacked apart, but ultimately the Hag Queen triumphs. She draws the Crimson Singular from the pool of boiling blood in which it lies, and with it slices open Ogtai's throat. Teirathi's success earns her the cautious regard of the High Oracle. Now, for those of you who are new to AOS or the faction, the Daughters of Khaine are an extremely interesting army, in that much of it is shrouded in deceit and guile, and most of all, murder. In this story, the great prophetess Morathi sends her Hag Queens of the Craith out to retrieve an artifact that's been lost for some time. Now, one thing I find interesting is that she poses it as an artifact of Khaine, but when the Craith arrive, Khorne forces are there for it as well, which really makes me wonder what the actual origin of the blade is and how Morathi has heard about it. It's obviously not an artifact of Khaine himself, but I wonder if it was some ancient weapon of untold murder, and Morathi manufactured this story around it. There's nothing to go on with that, but I think it's interesting, and we'll kind of explain that a bit more. I also want to touch on that Morathi specifically dispatches the Craith to go get this, and if you don't know who they are the most savagely murderous sect of the Daughters of Khaine. Where others, other different temples and stuff focus on military precision or clean kills or temple building, essentially, the Craith have no temples. Instead, they roam the realms at seemingly random directions, for they believe the battlefield is the only fitting altar to the god of murder. So they scoff at these precision kills, and for them, the act of murder is all that matters, not the method. So they'll come in rocking, poison blades and just jump into combat with the goal of becoming these living blenders. The more gory the kill, the better, as long as you're killing the most. Now, flipping back to the artifact they're looking for, it's time to talk about the Crimson Singular, right? Okay, it's fun fact time here at 2+ Tough. In entries regarding the Blood Sisters, we learned that a Singular is essentially a word the Daughters of Khaine use for a special kind of dagger, or sword, blade, something like that. It specifically is one that absorbs the energies of the organs of its victims. Remember, all the fighting that the Daughters of Khaine do is to release the energies of murder and blood, again, which they think is powering Khaine, but it is in fact going straight to Morathi. I'm not sure exactly what the energies of, say, a kidney are, but heck, Morathi wants it. Also, the Craith are known as the Crimson Cult because of all the slaughter we talked about earlier. And so when I put all these things together, here's the story that I get in my mind. Morathi wants a powerful dagger, an artifact to add to her collection. So she calls it by the name of a weapon that's, we'll call it proprietary to the Daughters of Khaine, the Singular. But on top of that, she puts the word crimson in the name. My wager is that she wanted to lie to Teirathi and the Craith in an effort to make the retrieval of this relic a deeply personal thing, as if it belongs to them, like it's somehow an artifact of theirs from long ago. I'll explain more about why I think that in a second, but this is all my thinking. Given the amount of deceit within this army, I think it all adds up. Regardless, she's on the hunt. She finds her prize, but is intercepted by a Khornate champion, specifically an exalted Deathbringer named Ogtai, and that status, if you're not familiar with the Khorne army, it basically means he's the second in command of a bloodbound force within the Khorne bloodbound factions. He's going to have obvious mutations that show the blessings of their blood god. And of course they clash, but as soon as Hag Queen Teorathi reaches into a pit of boiling blood, which, isn't really explained but raises a myriad of questions, the fight ends with the Khorne champion getting his throat slit. Presumably the blade, absorbed the mighty power of his esophagus. And while this story is very short and sweet, there's a lot of things to talk about and why it's cool, and I do hope you stick around for this. So certainly one of the reasons why this is awesome, that was already mentioned, is that little tangent I went on earlier about how Morathi may have lied about the sword's origins, just to get the weapon added to her arsenal. It's not an outrageous thought at all. In fact, it's the kind of stuff that makes this entire faction, everything in this battle tome, so interesting. You, me, and Morathi know that all of this is bullcrap, right? Even if she is a god now, Morathi uses the illusion of Kain and kind of his artifice and branding, if you will, to get her will across. Even as a deity-level hero, she still lies and deceives and twists people constantly. So yeah, my story could be complete nonsense conspiracy, but everything else in this battle tome makes it seem like those lies would be far from out of the ordinary. Of course she would lie to them to get what they want. How do I get them to do what I want? Well, I make it seem like it's important. This is an artifact of Kain. Okay, there's really nothing. Why would it be just randomly here? If it's in boiling blood, that's just as much an artifact of Khorne as it is of Kain. Yes, I do hate that the two gods of murder have such similar names, in case you were asking. How do I get you to fight for it like it was your own thing? I'm gonna, we'll brand it to make it sound like it belongs to you. We'll call it the Crimson Sword, or, the Crimson Singular, or whatever it is. Those are things that Morathi would absolutely do. And that kind of mentality makes it really compelling to write lore for, right? Yes, when you muster your army and set up a narrative game on the table, your force has a mission. In this case, it's specifically to get an artifact. But as a Daughters of Kain player, there's always this meta story at play, right? Did Morathi lie about this? Why did she send you? Why does she want it so bad? And so on, right? The Morathi as a character and her duplicitous nature makes writing so much fun, because every single story in this book can be looked at with a kind of a lens of conspiracy of like, but what does she want? What did she gain from this? Everything has these like little selfish narrative edges to it that make it all so compelling. And that carries on after the narrative, because the last line that you read tells you everything you need to know. So let me read that again here. It is, Teorathi's success earns her the cautious regard of the High Oracle. For those unaware, Morathi likes to have these incredibly capable and powerful warriors surround her, but not too capable. If a champion gets wise to all the lies and, illusions and deceit that's going on, then everything she has sought to build could fall apart. So, Morathi is constantly grooming the best warriors, but any of them that show anything less than absolute blind devotion need to be dealt with, right? She does the old hey, I see you thinking about it. Here's what you gotta do. Stop thinking about it. And spoiler, Daughters of Kain is a great army, but it has one of the worst retirement plans imaginable, right? So Morathi would either kill Teorathi if she got too smart, or assuming Morathi feared how intuitive and cunning Teorathi was, or another option was presented to us with the Soulbound book. She would make her soulbound, which we learned from that core book is one way that essentially Morathi outcasts these members of her temple. If getting rid of a specific hero like this Hag Queen would cause too much suspicion or questions, she'll be like, oh, I'm going to give you the honor of becoming a soulbound. You're going to fight for the gods and be this epic hero, get a power boost, but you gotta go somewhere else and quest and, be a champion, shoo. And she builds it up like it's an honor, but really it's just to get you out of the way. So even having been successful in her story of getting this artifact, we end the story with our hero in a light bit of danger. But it's danger she can't conceive of because, like we said earlier, she doesn't know that this is all a lie. But the last thing I want to touch on today, and certainly, without a doubt, the coolest thing about this story is its origins. There exists an Age of Sigmar Instagrammer, tournament organizer, Warhammer hero, and all-around kind and awesome guy named Chuck Moore, also known as Strengthhammer as his Instagram handle. Chuck has brought so much to the hobby, and on the day of this release, it's his birthday. So I wanted to do this for him. Chuck loves two things that are relevant to this story, although I'm sure he loves many more things in life. His Kraith, Daughters of Cain army, and Taylor Swift. Okay, the musician. In fact, Teyrathi is the Hag Queen version of T Swift. And Chuck has been constantly and consistently playing, building, and even cosplaying as Teyrathi for years. And so when GW slipped this character into the pages of their newest battle tome, to me, that immortalizes her. Teyrathi is now canon. And it doesn't hurt that the Kraith got a little bit of a facelift, rules-wise. So Chuck, Strengthhammer, congrats buddy, you made it into the pages of the Mortal Realms by being just obsessed enough about Taylor Swift to make it happen. Happy birthday, and folks, if you want more hobby, positive people online, I have a link to his account down below, along with some other Daughters of Cain videos here on the channel, in case you just want to learn more about the faction. But I want to open this up to a bit of discussion. What did you think about the story? Now, I know a lot of this was me talking about how I think it's all a lie. I don't think that this artifact came from Cain. I think that Morathi lied about its origins to get these heroes to go out there and do it. I think she's lying to Teyrathi, and that Teyrathi is in some form of danger of becoming a bit too good for Morathi's, contentment level. But I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think that is true? What other stories in this book do you look at with that same kind of suspicion? Because I love that every ounce of this book is just bleeding with, conspiracy, right? What does Morathi want? What do you think the fate of Teyrathi will be? Personally, I like to think she either remains the Hag Queen of the Kraith, or becomes an epic hero, a soulbound, going out and conquering the realms, just taking that same blind faith and going outward with it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think on those, and we'll continue the conversation there. Thank you all so much for watching, listening. Happy birthday, Chuck, and happy wargaming.